Welcome to the FaceTime with God podcast. I'm your host, Kay Farrar, and yes, you have tuned in to the right place because we're bringing Christ to the culture and the culture to Christ because the gospel's not for old times, it's for all times. So we've got relevant topics, real people, and we're starting right now. So, all right, boarding school.
Yeah.
So, and it's so amazing to me that they put their application in right when you were born because they meant, so just the focus and the importance of education and the planning that families do in Ghana, maybe not all families. So how different was your family from, I guess you were pretty upper class? Or was middle class, or how would you?
I would say that I grew up well, right?
Yes, you did. You did, because I didn't. We didn't have help.
Thank goodness for that. And in Ghana, like when we talk about like help, for example, it's not the way it is here. Okay, right? It's very common in Ghana for families who are doing well to have help in the house because that is also a way of giving back, right?
Wow.
Because what happens is there are families who are in the villages, who don't live in the city, who don't have opportunities. The kids there don't go to school. They don't do anything. So when these individuals come, my parents or whoever they are living, apart from the fact that they are working in the house domestically, they also learn a trade or a vocation, right? So those that were in my home, when we went to school, they also went.
Wow.
Some of them learned how to sew. Some of them learned how to, hairdressing, like went to cosmetology school. So they learned a vocation. And at some point, they were, I would say, self-sufficient, right? And so they would leave and my parents would take on a new set.
Wow.
So they help around the house. And so the parents to these individuals who were helping us at the house, they are always fishing for families to take on their kids because they cannot afford to pay for their kids to learn a vocation or to take them to school or, whatever the case may be. Yeah. And then these individuals become part of the family. I mean, I'm still in touch with some of them. At Christmas, New Year, I'll send them money. And, some of them have kids now. They are married, So it is very common in Ghana to have house help.
Wow.
Very, very common.
But the whole concept of it is more they're helping your family, but you are also helping their
them.
Family.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a totally different concept.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we could dig into that. Now, with that, what was your responsibility like in the family in terms of manners, respect to elders? My Nigerian friend that I will be seeing over the weekend, I told you I'm going to this shower.
Yes.
I was thinking because it'll be a surprise, but this will be out after the surprise, so it's okay. We're good there.
Okay.
But she told me that a lot of times, like, depending on the age range difference or what have you, like when they met an elder or what have you, they would kneel. Even like with an older sibling, you had to speak certain respectfully. So talk about the whole respect thing. Even though, you had help, like would you do certain things if your mom was trying to lift something, or just talk about how the whole respect thing went with your mom and your siblings or just older people in general?
So in my home, and I would say not just mine or any other African home, I would tell you, or Ghanaian home, I should say, respect is is key. Okay. You cannot do anything without it. You address people a certain way, especially those who are older than you. Like I cannot address anyone who is older than me by their first name.
Okay.
And so we typically we don't say miss a lot as you do here. We would always, somebody's always an aunt or an uncle, but it doesn't mean that we are related by blood. It's just a sign of respect. And same in the home, you don't talk back.
Okay.
I mean, it's a no. You talk back, you get a pop. So,
and when we say that, for example, like let's just say your mother says, go back upstairs and change that shirt and wear another one. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, whether you feel like changing it or not, you go upstairs. You don't come and linger around when there are guests. You go straight to your room.
Wow.
You do not speak when your parents are speaking to their friends, or like you can't just chime in and say, oh, by the way, no, you can't. You can't do that. You see an elder with something, you go and grab it. When you meet somebody, you greet them. I mean, those are just basic fundamentals. And even the way you talk to them, right? And even this house help that was in the house, they were older than we were.
Wow.
We showed them respect. Even though they were there helping us, my parents made sure we treated them well. We showed them that level of respect. And we had a schedule to help as well. So even though I wasn't, let's say, responsible for making my bed, or I knew how to make my bed, I knew how to do the dishes, I knew how to wash, because we didn't have washing machines. We washed by hand. And we'll put it out in the drying line because it's a tropical climate and the sun is always shining. So we didn't have dryers. So we did chores. We had our chores we did around the house, but we were not responsible, like solely responsible for them. But for example, a particular week, my mom would have me scheduled to help out in the kitchen. And then maybe my sister is
you were
helping
scheduled.
out. So yeah.
Because planning is just so key, even within the household. Like we said, from the time you were born, your family was planning things for you, but also they planned the meals, they planned the schedule, probably for vacations, or like you said, for your chores. So tell us more about your chores.
Yeah. So, for example, if I'm assigned or scheduled to help out in the kitchen for that particular week, my mom is the one who decides what we're going to eat. Whatever is on the menu is what you eat. If you don't want to eat that, you can drink water and go to bed. I mean, it's as simple as that. You don't get to say, well, I want fries today, even though there's something else. Whatever is on there, that's what everybody in the household is eating. So she has that menu out for the entire week.
Is it written? She writes it?
So she writes it
and posts it up?
She writes it, yes. And sometimes, again, these house helps, sometimes they can't even read and write.
Gotcha.
So whoever I scheduled, if it's me, I'm trying to help them interpret it and trying to come up with if we need to go to the market and things like that, right? So we have the list. Most of our foods, like the bulk of it, is really cooked on the weekends, right? And then during the week, we are adding the accompaniment. So maybe if it's a stew, the stew is probably already made, but maybe that evening they are just going to cook a pot of rice and make a quick salad, or have some vegetables that would go with it. Because again, remember, these individuals sometimes are also not in the house during the day. They have gone to learn their trade or whatever the case may be. So it just depends on the week. So I would help out. So for example, if I'm scheduled that morning, when I come downstairs, I have to get ready very quickly. I would come downstairs if we have to make an oatmeal or something. I'm helping out, or maybe somebody else is making it and I'm washing the dishes as she's making it, or I'm making it, so we work together, and she's actually teaching me how to do those things, or how to cook a particular meal. And in the evening, I would help her serve the food. We take it to the dining table.
So the help is teaching you to cook as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
So when I'm scheduled, that's my responsibility. I know you know how to cook.
I might have to stop by.
Oh yes, I do. I know how to cook. My friends come by, and I cook all the time.
So all right, well, we're gonna pause a little bit. Food is one of my topics. So rice. All right. How do you do your jollof rice?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What's your favorite? How do you do yours? Or are you able to share?
I mean,
is it a secret?
I have no secrets. So with jollof rice, the base of it is a tomato sauce.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you oil, you fry onions. We use pepper, like Scotch bonnet or something like that. So you put that in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can use whatever type
Scotch
of
bonnet. What is that?
It's a.
Is that
it's
a
actually
name?
That's the name of it.
Wow,
I think it originates from Jamaica. It's a type of pepper.
Never heard
it's
of
like
it.
a small round.
Is it red or green or what?
It comes in green and kind of yellowish.
Okay.
And I find it out at the stores. So you
something new.
So I typically would blend my tomatoes. You can either use canned tomatoes or fresh tomatoes. Okay. So I blend the pepper in there. I add a little bit of garlic. Okay. And a little bit of ginger. Okay. I put that in there, and then you pour it into your onions that has, at this time, you fried it, and you let it cook. Wow. The sign that it has cooked is once it's cooked, the tomato, once the stew is cooked, you see that the oil is kind of floating on the top. And then you put your seasoning in there. So, whatever seasoning that you wish, you put that in, add a little bit of salt. And then you would wash your rice. We typically use jasmine rice, long grain jasmine rice. So you wash your rice and you pour it into the tomato base. Okay. You cover it and you allow it to cook. And when it's almost done.
We're getting the whole recipe. I love this. I'm going to make this.
When it's almost done, you would add, sometimes I like to always put like green beans. And carrots. But I put it in towards the end because I like my vegetables a little crunchy. So you put that in there. If you're using what kind of protein of choice, in Ghana, we eat a lot of chicken and goat meat and, so whatever protein of choice, if you have already prepped that, you can mix it in or you can serve it on the side. It just depends on what your preference is. But in a gist, that's how jollof rice is made. Yeah.
Any sweet, any sugar or no?
So you mean in
your rice dish? No.
No.
Okay. Gotcha.
We don't, I can think of any dish that we include.
You add sugar.
Yeah, sugar. Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's good. That's a good health tip right there. All right. So they did the meals, but you also, learned cooking along as they were making the meals, the respect thing. What about in school? How did you interact with your fellow students and with your instructors? And really, I'm kind of comparing and contrasting to today's students and how they behave in school. How would you kind of compare and contrast that?
So, I did not do any of my formative years of school in this country. Right. So might be a little hard for me to compare. I only did college here. Right. I would say that in Ghana, we don't have a lot of resources. Okay. Right. So schooling itself is seemed as a difficult thing, right? Like you are cracking your brain literally to solve a math problem because we don't have a scientific calculator or something like that. So we are working everything out. If you're in a calculus class, you're working everything out by learning all the formulas and, by your brain. Yeah. And so school is not easy, right? We do have after school teachers that can help if you're having like issues at school, which maybe is similar to having a tutor here. Okay. But the difference is in Ghana, your parents are paying for that. The school is not providing that to you. Your teachers are there to teach, and you don't necessarily have any access to them after the, school is out. Okay. But we don't have a lot of behavioral issues because we were punished in school. Okay.
Corporal punishment. So
you got the beating.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we call it a cane. The teachers can use it. Parents use it. Nobody's calling the cops on you for that. And they believe in that. So if you don't want to get it, you straighten up. So I mean, it's very simple.
Pretty much straightens up.
Yeah, and so it wasn't a lot of coddling as it is here. You know, here like every little thing they have to report it, and no, over there the parents are giving teachers all the leeway and authority. If you catch my child out of line, you do whatever you need to do to discipline them. And nobody's apologizing for that. And neighbors will do that too, by the way. And neighbors
too. And that's how it used to be here. But you also, the respect for the teachers is very high. And then they are very highly respected and respectful, it seems like. And I guess if they got out of line, it was probably severe for a teacher as well. Is it almost kind of like unheard of for a teacher to do something wrong to a student?
Yes, it's unheard of, but it's not unheard of for the opposite. Like, for example, a child cannot be disrespectful to the teacher. You know, you don't even have to say it because it's not going to happen.
Right. So is that taught in the home? Is it taught from church? How does...
I think it's a mixture of both, right? Because in the home, you're always taught about... respect is so important, right?
How do they teach all that from the beginning? Do you remember like what
I don't know if... I think it's just part of the culture, right? And everybody is holding everyone accountable. And it's not, you know, it's not here where, you know, your neighbor can see your child being disrespectful and they can't say anything to them. In Ghana, the neighbor can check your child. Easy. Whether they know you or not. A stranger can check your child if your child is out of line. So it's not a culture where it's like you have to seek permission to straighten a child who is out of line. It's almost a giving that you have to treat that child like it was your own. So if you see that child out of line, you straighten that out. Like I said, this... you know, talking back and, you know, you tell a child to do something, they telling you what they want to do. And I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, I remember when I moved here, I used to work retail when I was in college. And this lady came in with her daughter to buy a prom dress. Right? Paid for the prom dress and everything. And the girl didn't even say thank you. And she, you know, after her mom paid for it, she just walked away. And I had just moved here. And I mean, she didn't say anything.
To see that.
Like, didn't say anything mean or anything. But just that, the fact that her mom paid for it, there was no thank you. And she walked away. Like in Ghana, you're like, oh, thank you so much. Like, you are grabbing the bag. The girl left the bag on the counter after I rang it up. She just left the bag and she walked away. And the mother grabbed it. Oh, no. Say, no. My mom would probably return the dress right there.
Right.
And you are not going to prom. And there are no questions about it. And that's it.
Wow.
So something that small. It's not like she called her out of her name and, you know, and all that. Those things don't even come to mind. Like, you wouldn't dare think of it, you know, calling somebody out of their name and cussing people out.
And so this is like a long, this was
we could go on and on.
No, this was for you. And then this was how your mom was brought up and how her mom was. So in other words, or did it just start? I'm sure it didn't, but I'm just making this plain because I actually have a point that
you're getting
a theory, but this is just how life has been as far as you know, as far back as you know in your family.
Yes. And in Ghana, not just in my family. I mean, what I'm talking about, if you meet any other Ghanaian, they can validate it. Because
now, how about other countries, you know, like Nigeria, I get the feeling, but...
I don't, but I feel like a lot of, maybe especially in West Africa, like I feel like it's almost the same. And I would say Nigerians, theirs is on an even higher level because you just said they literally prostrate. I mean, I've seen And Nigerian can lie flat when they meet a king or something, And if they don't, like at my church now, I have Nigerians there.
Okay.
When the elders come and, somebody who is just older and they meet you, they are like literally bowing as a sign of respect.
Yes.
In Ghana, we don't do that.
Okay. So some countries, it is on a higher level.
A higher level.
Right.
Yeah.
So my theory, and we're probably... might have to be our last, and I'll give you final words. One of my thoughts, and I do think I might have to bring you back.
Okay.
Because I'm loving and I'm loving this conversation. One of my thoughts is that a lot of what we see in the quote unquote African American community in the United States, in terms of behavior, in terms of respect, in terms of things we see in the school, in the community, whether it's just throwing trash out of the window while you're driving your car or being disrespectful to your parents, what we would say is even, cursing and towards your parents and the parents cursing at the kids and those kinds of things. My thing that I say is that it is not African. It might be American, but it is not African. In other words, you did not bring that here. You got that when you were brought here. It is a byproduct of slavery, then segregation, Jim Crow, that just sort of it took our roots away, it took our heritage away, and it brought in a lot of anger, it brought in a lot of mistrust, it brought in a lot of self-worthlessness. In other words, we didn't see ourselves the way we would have seen ourselves if we, based on our African heritage and our roots. And so I'm not saying that it's European necessarily, but it's to me a byproduct of the African experience being brought here through slavery and all of the horrible things that came out of that, because it certainly wasn't the heritage from West Africa, and primarily those who were brought here on the slave ships came from Ghana or Nigeria, but primarily Ghana, from what I understand, or at least through Ghana at Cape Coast Castle, which I did have an opportunity to visit.
Yes.
And so we're going to meditate on some of these things, and I want maybe you meditate on it a little bit more, and we will bring you back for another episode and we'll dive in deeper. But thank you so much for coming to FaceTime with God. You have blessed us with a lot of knowledge and information, and we are going to do our best. We'll see if we can get any pictures or anything you would like to share, and we can share that when this episode comes out as well, so that our viewers and listeners can get a better understanding of our West African heritage and how, honestly, it would behoove us if we go back to as much of that as possible, especially in our homes and in our schools. So any final words that you would like to share?
Oh, sure. I mean, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I jump anytime I have to talk about Ghana, because Ghana is what has made me who I am today. And I try to instill some of those same values. And that's the word I want to leave all of us with. It's our value system. So what do we value, right? What do we value as a people, as a nation, as a country? What do we value? One of the things that I have come to understand in this country that we live in is we don't value much.
Wow.
We do not value much. We don't even value life, right? Because somebody can kill someone over $50, right? So you're trying to tell that person their life is only worth $50, but that's not what it is. So I think to me, it's just our value system. And what world do we want to leave for our kids and our grandkids and all of that? So at the end of the day, that's what I would say we should all ponder on as we move on with our lives is what do we value and what is our value system made of?
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And that's a great note to end on. And we might pick up there when we bring you back. So thank you again for being with us on FaceTime with God.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Hey fam, here's some more good news. Romans 10:13 says, whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. That means delivered from danger, rescued, protected, preserved, so that you would do well and be made whole. If you've never prayed this prayer, if you want to just confess it again, join us as we pray. Lord Jesus, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. I believe you died for me and paid the penalty for all my sins. I know I've not done everything right, but that's why I'm calling on you to save me, to wash me in your blood, to forgive me for all of my shortcomings, to make me whole again from the inside out. I will walk with you. I will follow you. I thank you for showing me through your word and by your spirit how I need to walk, how I need to live before you. Lord, I thank you for removing any blockage in my mind, in my environment. Lord, I thank you for sending your angels to protect me and to lead me in the way that I should go. According to Romans 10:13, I am saved. If you prayed that prayer, the angels in heaven are rejoicing, and so are we. Write "I'm saved" in the comments so we can celebrate with you. Get connected with some strong, balanced Bible believers in your area who can help disciple you. Talk to the Lord every day about your decisions and check out our video, The Greatest Superhero.